how does it scale the difficulty when you add more players for co-op?
The base AI behavior, their tendencies, everything, like a lot of the same things you can actually customize in Firefight. That just determines how smart they are, how precise their aim is, how likely they are to shoot at you. All these variables now will scale and basically become more challenging with the more players that are in a co-op game.
Now that the elites in multiplayer actually are physically different, you know, they're bigger, they have slightly different abilities sometimes, was there ever any consideration of letting multiplayer players play as brutes and having, you know, those controls like the loping and brute controls?
You know, that's interesting. I've never heard of any discussion like that, and I don't know, because the fan community, the elites, are beloved, right? I mean, they're iconic to Halo. They really were a defining part of the series, and it's pretty unanimously not as positive when it comes to talking about the brutes with fans. I don't think the people really generally enjoy the brutes that much, and I just don't think there would have been quite the reception or interest in playing as a brute, because they're just sort of viewed as these sort of dumb ape-like bullet sponges that walk around in the campaign, and the elites are majestic and they're awesome, and they're the only species that can really go toe-to-toe with the Spartans. So
I was thrilled to see their return in the campaign. It was awesome.
Yeah, they're super fun to fight against, and with a lot of the AI tweaks that we've had, I mean, the elites really make the AI shine. You can really see it at work. They're agile and nimble, and they're just hard. They're crafty and they're hard to fight against, especially when about 5 or 6 come charging at you.
Was it a difficult decision to move away from the Chief?
Not really for us. I mean, we're still huge fans of the Chief, obviously, but you know, we kind of left him tucked away in a place that certainly leaves the door open for somebody else to continue that saga. But you know, ODST was our first chance, kind of starting to move away from the Chief, and it became a chance, like you were saying, just to tell a different kind of story. And for us, it's a more character-driven story. It's nice to be able to go and take these people's helmets off, and for the first time really to get to know another group of people that are well voice acted, that have great virtual performances with improved animation and lip syncing. And I just think it's a deeper story we've been able to tell before, where Chief was a very quiet, sort of empty vessel, man of few words, and we can just do more things now with that. And I think Noble 6 is still awesome in combat. Noble Team itself is great. I don't think fans are really going to miss Chief once they start playing the first mission of Reach.
And like you said, the end of Halo 3 left the door open for more things with the Chief. You know, Microsoft's going to go on to make more Halo games in the future, presumably. Does Bungie have a story in mind for what happens to the Chief, whether or not we'll ever know what that is?
Nothing formal or official. I'm sure a lot of the guys, like Joe Staten on the story team, these guys that have been sort of responsible for penning Chief's saga for the last decade, I'm sure in the back of their minds they already know, you know, if they were to go to work on it tomorrow, they would hit the ground running and have some great ideas to build on. But formally, you know, it's not something that we've ever spent time on as a studio, and we're still fans of Halo, and we're just going to have to wait like everybody else and sort of see what's next for Chief.
Yeah. There's a lot of cameos in the game from characters that fans will appreciate. Were there any characters from the novels or from past games that you guys thought about including and then didn't make the cut, and can you reveal any of those?
You know, actually, I don't really think there really wasn't. We wanted to focus first off on just building out Noble Team, and you know, initially, I can tell you that there weren't Noble Team. Maybe at one point had a few more Spartans as part of it. And along the way, those other Spartans kind of fell out of the mix, and I think it just became a matter of finding the comfort point with how many characters can you really truly introduce, get your head around, create a relationship with. And looking back, that's probably something we've learned from some of the other Halo games, where at times there's just too many different characters, too many different stories, too many different threads going on, and it was just hard to keep track of it all. So we didn't want to introduce more threads and more loose ends than we could possibly tie up in a single game. So you know, it was very conscious for Reach to make it something that was neat, clean, cohesive, and just a standalone topic. But I think the biggest would probably have just been, at one point in the very early part of the game, the Noble Team design was going to include more than just the 5 NPC Spartans that we have right now.
And would those have been Spartans that people were introduced to or familiar with from reading the books?
No, because it wouldn't have been like Fred and Kelly and Linda and those types, because these are still sort of these Spartan 3 different characters that we were creating, and you know, we wanted to tell something that was different than what people have come to know and love. And Obviously, there's demand for that. Who knows? Maybe that would factor in some future plans for the Halo series. But you know, I think the coolest thing for fans, might be a spoiler to some, is just the inclusion of Halsey is probably the one direct link that allows us to start to connect the dots between some of the extended fiction and then what we've done through the games itself.
Right. So speaking of the future of the franchise, what is it like to leave the franchise behind after working on it for a decade as a studio?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the single word, as cliche as it is, it's just a little bit bittersweet for the studio. You know, in a lot of ways we haven't actually released the game, so it hasn't really sunk in for most of the studio yet. People are sort of still on vacation, still coming off of development, and the best part of that is when you actually get to go online and play the game with your family and friends and sort of celebrate all that hard work. So that hasn't happened, but I think, you know, probably come September 15th it'll be a different story, and at that point you'll know that you're really, besides continuing to support this game in different capacities after launch, that's it. Like, we won't be going back to this universe ever again, and it's a little bit sad. It's been a great ride, but at least we can look back on this game, know that our last game was in fact the best Halo effort we've ever produced, and something that we're proud of, something that has a lot of fan service. It's really sort of us giving back to our fans for all their great support, and it's a pretty exciting time in the studio. We're really invigorated and inspired to sort of dive headfirst into our next big universe and see if we can sort of do this all again.
Right on. You guys had a lot of creative freedom when you were working with Microsoft. What's it going to be like working with Activision?
Well, I mean, it's going to be different because we're doing different things now, and our relationships are going to be different as well. But you know, the most important part to us in finding a new publisher was to make sure that we got to basically have the deal that made sense for our studio, and that includes remaining independent, owning this new IP entirely, and specifically also gives us basically full creative control over our new game universe. So in some ways we'll actually have more flexibility, more freedom, but you know, you also could look at that as we'll have more rope to hang ourselves with. So you know, we're going to live and die by our own actions, and that's definitely, as an independent developer, that's the kind of stuff that motivates us and motivates the team to really do their best work. So it's an exciting time for us right now.
Cool. It's exciting for the fans too. One of my favorite parts of Reach that was new to the entire series were the space battles, but that level seemed too short, probably because it was just so awesome. Is there any chance, I mean, you might not be able to talk about DLC, but is there any chance of ever seeing more space battle missions ever created?
Probably not. I can't officially talk about DLC beyond, you know, I think it's safe to say what you probably will see after launch is stuff that's more along the lines of what we've done for prior Halo games, so things that are more multiplayer centric. There are no current plans that I'm aware of to sort of go back and do more space stuff, but it's been great to see the reaction to it. I agree, it's a really interesting, fun, dynamic sort of way to just out of the blue make a huge change to the Halo gameplay formula. It's a lot of fun, but right now it's not something that we plan to sort of continue to build on.
What about space combat multiplayer?
Yeah, ever like the second we debuted this at E3, that was the thing that everybody immediately gravitated to and wanted, and it's not something that we really have plans for or built in. Now, obviously in the 4-player co-op version, each person would fly their own ship, and at that point, if you want to just sort of wipe out the enemies and don't progress, then I guess
just take each other out.
Exactly, just go nuts and have your own kind of ad hoc dogfight deathmatch.
Cool. Yeah, that's a good point. So to wrap this up, game comes out September 14, which happens to be my birthday. Was that on purpose?
Absolutely. Hopefully you'll get that free copy that we'll send over to you. So
you guys heard it from him.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Thank you. And also, can we please play more snipey times? Firefight.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed that. I just whipped that little game type up yesterday, and I think it's on maybe version 3 right now. So people have been giving me some great playtest feedback here this week. So keep tweaking it, and now that we've played it, it'll be local and available on your own profile. So make sure you grab that when you go back with you.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.